Joining us now is the head of Notre Dame's recruiting board, Mr. Tom Lloyd. Tom, thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us today.
You got it. Appreciate you asking me to come on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
So first of all, Tom, we got to get something out of the way. I chirped you on Twitter over the weekend, and I apologize. I just had to get this apology out of the way. The Chad Henne tweet, I relished the opportunity to be a Twitter troll, and that opportunity presented itself. I took it. I thought you were being passive-aggressive back. Turns out you're like the nicest guy on the planet, so you weren't. And so I figured, what?
I said I don't remember what I said, so go. I mean,
Oh,
in response to you at least.
let me pull up the tweets.
All right. Yeah, I don't usually get too passive aggressive on Twitter, so
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell if you were being passive aggressive or not, so I hit back with a sarcastic comment, and I felt terrible all week about it because it turned out you were like literally the nicest guy on the planet. So just needed to get that out of the way. You tweeted about Chad Henne, about him having like good pocket presence or something like that, and then 2 seconds later he threw a pick, and then I tweeted that didn't age well.
Yes,
Yeah,
I remember it now. Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is it didn't age well, but like at that moment, I mean, it looked pretty good. And
I mean he played an outstanding game.
He did.
Yeah.
So are you good at picking up on Twitter sarcasm? Because I went through your Twitter and there are like a bunch of like tweets at you that didn't sound super like serious, but you may have responded seriously. So like, are you good at picking up the sarcasm?
I mean, I try to. I mean, I deal with guys that are pretty sarcastic on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I consider myself pretty sarcastic. So I try to, but sometimes things slip through the cracks, or sometimes people will just be like, oh, trying to be funny. And when you deal with a message board of at times maniacs, we'll just call them passionate Notre Dame fans. I mean, things can get under your skin a little bit when you don't mean, you don't want them to. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So what is the one time, like, I know you do like the crystal balls, if you could just explain that real quickly, just for people who aren't like familiar with it.
yeah, so the 24/7 Sports Crystal Ball is basically something we implemented years ago about, being able to guess at where a kid's going to go. You get some hits, you get some misses. I know a lot of guys like to focus on just their one site, and if you're an Ohio State guy, you're going to focus on just guys that are looking at the Buckeyes, but that's not how I like to roll. I like to do things on a national level and talk to kids from all over the place, and kind of feel like it helps kind of develop that relationship, and I feel good about it. Plus, if you can bring some juice to another site, then that's the way to go. But that's it, just a kind of a way to make predictions.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
So what's the worst threat you've ever received from a fan base or from an individual fan after getting a crystal ball wrong?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a threat, but man, they get passionate. I mean, that's the craziest thing. Like, there's things change in recruiting. I mean, I think we've seen that with all the things that get thrown around on Twitter and whatnot. And this guy got paid, and this, like, a kid could be leaning one way, and then all of a sudden overnight, I mean, we just saw it. I mean, you guys are Notre Dame fans or whatever. Tyson Ford was going to Oklahoma, flip-flop, overnight. Now he's going to Notre Dame. So things change, but you kind of got to roll with the punches at that point.
Yeah, I gotcha. So you mentioned irrationality and like very passionate fans. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how irrational are ND fans, both football and basketball? And I'm sure football outweighs basketball.
As a proud, irrational Notre Dame football and basketball fan, I'm just going to state that I am proudly irrational.
I don't
So
think,
from your experience, like how bad can it get?
I mean, they're passionate, and I will say this: like, there's times where I'm like, this is so overwhelming. It's a lot. These guys, like, I mean, there's guys out there that don't have the message board to deal with. So, like, kudos to you. It's great. But I really do love the Notre Dame fan base. It makes you want to do great work and publish great content because they are so passionate. I've covered Florida State, North Carolina. Like I said, I do a lot on the national level, but Notre Dame, man, it's just different. It really is. It's just different. You get that feeling as soon as you step on campus. I did the first time I came up here for a job interview.
Absolutely.
To get this job. But man, Notre Dame fans are fun to deal with. They can be a little crazy at times. I mean, they had a great season, but it wasn't even close to what they wanted or needed to make themselves feel better. But they're a little crazy at times.
Yeah, the guys you're talking about are Eric.
Yeah.
Eric is, you make the content for Eric, and he
Yeah.
literally is just on it
Eats it
all
up
the time.
Every time you look at Eric on his phone, he's on the Irish Illustrated. So
It's ridiculous.
So we mentioned Notre Dame football and basketball, and I'm sure most of this interview will like cover football. But speaking of like touch basketball real quick. So Blake Wesley and J.R. Knesny are both very good friends of ours, and they've both been on the show. And when we asked them each who wins in a one-on-one, they both said themselves, who do you got?
I mean, so it's kind of funny. I'll kind of refer to a good friend of mine who's actually a colleague. I mean, a competitor at Irish Sports Daily is Matt Freeman. This guy is
Okay.
basketball stuff. I'll give him a shout out. He's a good dude. But from what I've gathered, because I mean, you guys know, I mean, Notre Dame football recruiting is something that like you have to be on literally 24/7. So
Yeah.
that's my focus. I don't really dive into basketball. But Blake's a dog. I mean, everything I hear about him, he's an animal. All good things. And I know Notre Dame fans were super pumped when he committed. So I'm going to ride with Blake.
All right.
Okay. That's a hot.
JR,
That's a
if
nice
you're
take.
listening.
That's a good clickbait title.
So speaking of Matt Freeman, when we interviewed Rocco Spindler, who's also a very good friend of ours, he mentioned that Matt Freeman was like one of the first ones to know about his recruitment, along with Grant Dashevsky, the videographer we interviewed last week. So speaking of that, who is your favorite recruit in the 2021 upcoming class, and why is it Rocco Spindler?
And why? Rocco Spindler? No, he's great. I mean, I had a pretty good pulse to know where he was going. I may not have been involved in the video creation, which I would say was phenomenal. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. It was outstanding, and kudos to those guys. It really was great. But Rocco's up there. Blake Fisher's great. I mean, we got a good relationship with those guys, and those two, I know they're going to be roommates at Notre Dame. So those two are up there. I think my favorite, man, those two would definitely be easy calls. They're very accessible, great relationship with them. Dark horse, probably Tyler Buckner.
Okay.
He's been close for years. Super great kid, great family. He would be in the mix, but yeah, I'd probably give the edge to Blake and Rocco.
Okay, gotcha.
As you should, because Blake technically also came on the show.
Yeah, Blake Fisher was on the show, like, because Rocco called him because we were talking about how much they bench, and we'll get into that a little later. But he was like, "Yeah, I think Blake benches a little more than me," and we had like,
you just FaceTimed Rocco on the middle of the show, or FaceTime Blake in the middle of the show. It was awesome.
That sounds about right. Knowing
Yeah.
Like half the time doesn't have a shirt on, and those two it gets weird at times. So
yeah, it really does. We mentioned we do very extensive research on our guests, and we found an IMDb page about you. And there's an IMDb page that your name is credited for the Curse of the Ice Mummy in 2007. Is that you?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's really
dang it.
nothing to do with me. And great find though. I mean, I wish that was me. I wish I had full. I mean, I do some acting like as a kid, and I had some potential. But then like I wanted to play sports more, but things like that. I grew up in California, so it was kind of obviously pretty big out there. But that is definitely not me.
Yeah, because we interviewed Grant last week, and he actually directed a movie when he was like 12. And then and he's credited. What was the movie?
Paranormal Investigators.
Yeah, it was like Paranormal Activity or something like that. And we thought it could have been like the same thing with you, but oh well, I guess that was a miss.
Great research. No.
Obviously, with Jack Cohn coming to Notre Dame, how are you feeling about him versus like Tyler Buckner and Drew Pine? Like, how are you seeing the Notre Dame quarterback room play out?
Yeah, so Jack's a kid that I was pretty high on coming out of high school. I'd seen him in San Antonio at the underclassmen combine and watched him throw around. And I wrote a story as soon as that thing wrapped up, and I thought he was one of the 5 guys Notre Dame should offer in that class. So I've liked him a lot for a while. Great kid, great family. Glad he had success at Wisconsin. It's a really good pickup. You know, Brendan Clark, there's some uncertainty about the injury and his knee. So you kind of got to. I think they brought him in to be the starter or at least compete for the job. If Brendan was completely healthy and there was no concerns, I don't think they would have gone that route. They'd have been fine with him, Drew, and Tyler. So I'm assuming that come Florida State game, Jack's going to be the starter. But, you know, don't write off Drew. I mean, he may not look like the potential NFL guy. But there's no question he could be a successful starter in college, and you all know my feelings about Buckner. So
for sure. I have seen Drew Pine's work ethic about him texting all the guys in the film, like being in the film room constantly and everything like that. And he seems like he could like put in some work over the offseason.
I agree.
So Eric has a question for you.
Yes,
yeah, and answer carefully because there's only one correct answer. But who is your favorite Notre Dame safety who happens to also be a rising junior and is from Georgia?
No, yeah, there is only one answer. Kyle Hamilton is a phenomenal talent, special kid. Yeah, he's a guy that doesn't typically end up at Notre Dame. So enjoy this one final year because
Kyle Hamilton is Eric's guy. Like he's so high on Kyle Hamilton, it's ridiculous. He finds a way to put him in every single one of our shows.
Yeah, we were talking about the Chargers and how they were going to get Derwin James back, and Eric quoted saying, "Derwin James is the Kyle Hamilton of the NFL."
Do you agree with that?
He just has exactly.
So I was covering Florida State when Derwin came out, and I got to know him really well, and he is a freak. I mean, he was supposed to be like the savior of Florida State football. Kyle's had a better college career. I think he's going to get drafted. I don't know if he's going to get drafted higher. That's going to be tough. But, I mean, those two are special players.
Yes, they are.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
So as Matt said, we do very extensive research. And I was looking for you on LinkedIn because there's occasionally like some good things on LinkedIn. Couldn't find you, but there is another Tom Loy who's a construction coordinator at Big West Oil LLC. As a fellow Tom Loy, what are your opinions on fracking?
No opinion, and I will keep the rest of that to myself. But that is definitely not a part-time gig. I can assure you that.
All right, just making sure.
All right, back to actual real questions. Obviously, you're aware of what happened yesterday with the recruiting violation that Notre Dame went through. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what ND's missing out from this specific recruit, and then what they're potentially missing out on from the Seattle area to like 2023?
Yeah, so the coach that was involved is not even at Notre Dame anymore.
Yep.
It was a big-time player. His name wasn't necessarily mentioned publicly, so I'll just kind of keep it to myself.
Yep, for sure.
But again,
we could break it on the show. No, I'm just messing.
This is not a big. I mean, if you Google it, you'll find it. I mean, it's really not that hard. But it's just it was a weird situation because it's funny because Notre Dame was never going to get this kid, and it's not because he was an elite player, a big-time talent. It was just wasn't going to happen. This kid was not coming to Notre Dame. I clearly got a little reckless with just texting and communication, and it's funny because I mean, obviously A&M got busted with it, Florida, and videos got sent. I mean, this happens everywhere. If you've been doing this as long as I have, you know. I mean, I've heard some crazy stories about guys getting together in the same conference room or lunch cafeteria talking to a kid where he just kind of circles and nobody cares. They know that this happens everywhere. The communication, the bump rule that's supposed to happen, you can only say hello. I mean, it's a silly rule. So there's that one. And then the Brian Kelly one, taking a picture with a recruit that was excited to take a picture with.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's a repercussion. I was going to mention that as well.
It's just ridiculous. I think that's the funniest rule out there, but I wouldn't, if you're a Notre Dame fan, don't sweat it. It's really not a big deal. Just don't do it again.
Yeah,
right.
It seemed like a slap on the wrist pretty much.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, it's really not even that, but it's very minimal. So
yeah. So usually when we do our interviews, one of the main things I'll do is I'll go through their Twitter and find embarrassing old tweets. That is physically impossible with you unless I had like 15 hours to do it because you have like 61,000 tweets. So a few we've interviewed went back and deleted their old tweets. Did you just go the bulk method where you just cover it up with as many recent tweets as you can so you can't find the old ones?
No, actually, you know what? I can't believe I'm doing this, but I got a really bad tweet on Twitter. And I'll share it with you. But
perfect. That's nice.
Didn't even have to do the research.
I do, like you said, like, you know, whatever, you're like one of the nicest guys ever. Like, I do try to present myself very well, and I think of myself highly, which obviously helps in this industry when you're trying to deal with people. But I did have a really bad take on Twitter, and I thought Damian Lillard would be a bust.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that. I did find that.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of my famous ones. I was literally, this girl I'm dating, we're sitting at her house, and I forget, we were like watching a movie, and my phone's just like,
blowing up.
And I'm like, what is happening? And it's just basically he retweeted it and like said thanks for the motivation, and it's just like went crazy. So nobody sees like where I shout out like Steph Curry, things like that. They see this. But I own it. I'm not a basketball analyst, so yeah, I'll take my L. But hopefully one day, me and Damian can link up. But
I think that was a pretty good take. I think that aged pretty well. Yeah, no, I think you're. Yeah, no, you got it.
It's close, but I think his brother actually runs a 7-on-7 team. So like, there's got to be a time where we can cross paths and link up. But
yeah, we can make our own bootleg 7-on-7 team. You can team up with Bonzi, JR, Blake, all these guys, and you guys can just take them on. It'll be your time to prove to you that Damian was a bust and that you're better than him.
In football, he may be a bust. Proven in football, he's a bust.
Maybe.
So what NFL team do you support? Obviously, you're big into college stuff. Like, what's your favorite NFL team?
Grew up in California. I'm a 49ers fan.
Okay.
But again, this job, man, I try not to get too involved with stuff beyond college football.
Yeah. So to touch on that, I saw on your Facebook that Ethan Albright is listed as your favorite athlete. Was that you?
No.
Different Tom Loy?
That is.
Okay. Well, I looked it up because I didn't know who it was either. It was a
Auburn.
Washington football team long snapper from like the 70s. And I was like, that is a very obscure favorite athlete. So if it was you, I figured I'd ask you about it, but I guess it's not.
Wasn't me. Probably a really good player though, but
Oh,
definitely.
I'm
wasn't
sure. Oh, a very gritty long snapper or
Yeah.
something. I actually like that.
I do too.
He had all the
Um,
traits.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you worked in North Carolina and covered that that kind of region. So, in an article published in 2014 on the Virginia Tech Crystal Balls, it said that they were taking over 24/7, and they credited you as being the Carolina Guru. How'd you earn that nickname? Were you just super familiar with the area, or?
I wasn't. So the funny thing is, like, when you're doing this before I became like full time with 24/7, I think I came to started covering Notre Dame in 2013. I was living in Pittsburgh, working in insurance, and I was covering Florida State and then North Carolina part time. So I was living in Pittsburgh. But I mean, I broke a lot of news, but I wouldn't consider myself the North Carolina guru. But definitely, that actually helped me get this job. If you want a quick story on Elijah Hood from
Yeah, for sure.
back in the day, while I was here interviewing, he was considering both schools, and I was walking around outside the Goog, and then went inside, and I was with somebody that I was kind of interviewing with, and I pointed out Elijah Hood from pretty far away, and he was like blown away that I could recognize him. I'm like, it's literally my job. But anyway, by the end of the weekend, I actually broke his commitment because I had a good relationship with him. Obviously, he's considering both schools. I broke his commitment to Notre Dame, which was pretty cool. Needless to say, it kind of helped in the job interview. So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so we might actually be coming for your job, given that well, I guess you don't do basketball like that.
Yeah.
And we accidentally broke Blake Wesley's commitment story.
Mhm.
Accidentally.
Yeah, we were the first members of the media to break it.
Yeah, we had JR on like the Monday before Blake recruited, and he told us basically that Blake was going to Notre Dame, and then we aired it on. Well, we told JR we cut the cameras, and then we didn't, and then we released that on the Wednesday before he committed. Which the episode didn't do all that well, so it wasn't like we had the first, but like technically we had the first. It didn't spread, but we did have the first official publication of Blake going to Notre Dame.
Yeah, so we
Watch out for your job.
Exactly.
Hey, come get it. I mean, you're not the first, so that's all right.
Okay, Eric has another question.
Yeah, speaking of, obviously you talked about your media positions and how you've covered schools like with Notre Dame, Florida State, North Carolina. But would you ever take a job as like a recruit talent evaluator for a school, or is that not in your
actually working for the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would have to be the right fit. I mean, I've been with 24/7 a while now, kind of really since it started about 10 years ago, and it would have to be with the right fit, with the right coach, somebody I really like, know well and have trust that. I mean, I got a pretty good life, so giving it up to put a risk. Coaches come and go, so but I would absolutely do it. I've had a couple opportunities, just conversations over the years, but yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Be a little different, so yeah.
I gotcha. So we consider ourselves to be big J journalists. So like
capital J.
Yeah,
journalists with a capital J.
It's like official journalists, even though none of us are studying journalism, and I don't think plan on going to college to study journalism
or have any credentials or any reason to call ourselves that.
Yeah, at all. So are you a self-proclaimed journalist, or are you like legit? Because I searched everywhere and I couldn't find where you went to college, but Eric, he found something and said that you went to Indiana University, Pennsylvania. Did you study journalism there?
Yeah, so I did.
Okay, so you are.
I'm not like
you're a big J.
I honestly don't even consider myself a journalist.
He's a big J.
Yeah.
I consider myself like a newsbreaker. That's really what it is. I'm not going to be writing these 2,000, 3,000 word features. It's not my style. I've gotten my name from breaking news, being ahead of the story, things like that. So, but I did. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, studied journalism, communications, economics, stuff like that. So
okay,
good find.
So, as a journalist, which I know you don't like to call yourself that, but as a journalist,
that's all right.
What are your opinions on Darren Ravel?
He's interesting on Twitter. That's for sure. But
we might be the biggest Darren Ravel haters outside of like Pardon My Take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty indifferent on him. But everything like
politician
that I like, obviously you guys as well, don't seem to like him. So I guess I'd lean that way. But I really don't have a hot take.
Eric actually challenged him to a 40-yard dash, and we're still trying to get it.
Yeah, we gotta get hold of Ravel.
Yeah, we need to get him to tweet back at us because that would be awesome, and then we can have you break it. Sorry.
He didn't even respond.
No, he
No.
didn't respond. And then we could have you there and put Eric on the recruiting board. Like maybe you can get Eric a scholarship at Notre Dame.
I mean, I think that's probably the natural progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. It
I'll
has to
go.
be.
We'll get Grant to video it. It'll
Yep.
be great.
Yep. Exactly.
I pride myself on being a pretty like moderate Twitter troller, but when it comes to Darren, it's no holes barred. I am in every single tweet.
Okay.
Every single tweet I troll Darren on Twitter. And usually if you make fun of Darren on Twitter, it gets so many likes because everyone who follows him also hates him. So it's like this easy way where you can just be like, hey, Darren, you're a nerd. Stop doing math during a football game. And it gets 80 likes out of nowhere. It's the easiest way to do numbers on Twitter. So if you ever need like a quick like, just make fun of Darren in his own comment section.
All right. That's a good point. Good point.
You told us that you get your name from breaking news mainly. So what recruit or what breaking news can you remember that the board absolutely blew up about? Like was just like nonstop, just commenting like either this is a terrible pickup or we're super looking forward to this guy. It's the next, like, say like Gale Sayers.
Gale Sayers, what?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
That was
Yeah,
so random.
That was great, though. I mean, that came out of nowhere, but like, shout out to you for that. But honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've broken a lot of stories and been ahead a lot. I like to do things beyond recruiting. Like I like to kind of own recruiting. I mean, coaching searches and things like that. So I've been ahead of things when it came to Tommy Reese coming on board or coaches.
Okay.
Coming. I like that, but honestly, I don't know if there's one story. I mean, you know how Notre Dame fans are. They're gonna blow up over everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I can tell them what I had for dinner, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, awesome! Like +1. Why did you choose that over something else?" Or I hate you for that. And it goes both ways. But yeah, I don't remember necessarily one big one. But like Tyler Buckner was a big one. We were ahead of that when Tony was coming. But yeah, so.
I gotcha. Eric has another question.
Yeah, so obviously 2020 has been a really rough year, but you were quoted saying, "If 2020 takes Meredith Grey, I'm fighting someone." Do you genuinely enjoy watching Grey's Anatomy, or are you forced to?
Oh wait, you know what? I thought you were joking, but I do think that I actually said that.
No, you did.
You did. You said it.
Wait, I thought you were like joking initially, but no. My wife and I, big Grey's Anatomy fans, and yeah, I mean, I love Meredith Grey. I mean, she's a keeper, and yeah, don't mess with her. It's just that simple. So
Yeah, I personally have never gotten into Grey's
Me either.
Anatomy.
Me
Like,
either.
I just don't see the appeal.
You married yet? Well, I mean,
I
There
don't think so.
yeah, that's kind of the thing. I've watched shows that like my wife has put me on, Bachelor, Bachelorette type stuff. That at some point, because of how patient she is with my job, you
True.
got to kind of roll with the punches. So
Yeah, you kind of got to take and give and
Yeah.
take at the same time.
Yeah. So this is kind of the same as like Matt's story, but what is like I guess not necessarily like what the board blew up over, but what was like the most memorable story you ever broke that like got you the most publicity, like helped you as a like your personal brand?
I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier, but it really was the Elijah Hood one. That was pretty big. I was the first one to say Laramie Tunsil.
Okay.
You guys remember him? I was the first one to report that he was going to Ole Miss, and that was shortly after I had started. So I kind of like made a name for myself just kind of casually. I thought it was like no big deal, but I said like, hey, this kid's probably not going anywhere other than Ole Miss. And people are like, wait a second, like he's going to Georgia or he might go to Florida or something like that. Nobody was even talking to Ole Miss. Obviously, a few years later, we found out why he went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was casually a coach telling me, hey, by the way, we're not getting this kid. He's going to Ole Miss. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to drop this on Twitter. And that was a big one, though. That got me a lot of pub with my own company. So
I got you. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten in trouble for something like that where a coach like assumes disclosure when you're talking to him and then you release it on Twitter or something like that? Or do they just assume like when they're having a conversation with you, it could end up on Twitter?
I'm pretty clear about like, let me know if this is off the record or on the record, things like that. When I'm talking to anybody, I mean, it could be a recruit. These recruits tell me all the time, like, I'm going to Notre Dame, but I'm not announcing, for a couple months or whatever. So you just got to have some discretion and just be respectful. And I can promise you that like things like that will help you go far in this industry. And I mean, it's been very impactful on my career. So
Yeah, so Eric again, the producer. You didn't ask, but my last name's also 3 letters. It's Lay, L-A-I. So as a fellow like 3-letter last name person, I'm just saying you have a pretty cool last name.
Thanks. I mean,
Yeah.
There's Eric's questions half the time. There's no answer to them. He just says a statement that he wanted to tell you,
Well,
and then that's just it.
He just rambles. Like you just like will talk, and you're just like, "Where's this going?" And
Yeah.
then clearly it like,
follow up or. But,
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, like, where are you from, man? I don't know. I'm curious.
I'm with it. I'm from California. Spent time in Pennsylvania as well, and before coming here, but yeah. So, but
Eric, did you mean like family heritage?
Yeah, I meant like family heritage. That's all.
when you wanted to go back through ancestry.com.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
let me
23andMe.
Google it real quick. No, like German. I know German, a little bit of Irish.
Yeah.
Um,
Like your typical American white guy, like a little bit of mix of all European ethnicities.
nailed it. Yeah.
Yep.
Good for you, man.
Like all of us.
Yeah,
God.
to give you a little background on Eric. So last week he had a question that we had written down, and he asked Grant. He's like, "Yeah, my name is kind of representative of my stature."
Yeah.
He's like,
I'm
I
a left field.
have a 3-letter last name, and I'm short. And he's like, "Where are you from?" And it's like he didn't even like
They
he
don't
didn't even-
connect
Yeah,
at
he didn't
all.
ask like how tall he was or anything. He was just like, "Where are you from?" Because I'm 5'6".
I mean, I'm not sure where that was going, but he's got a
Exactly.
point. I mean, I'm only like 5'7", 5'8". So
Okay,
clearly, he's got a point. I mean, short
Eric's a
last name,
treasure.
he
find a
is.
tall dude. I mean, yeah, he's got a point. A weird point, but he's got a point.
Yeah, he has a weird way of tying everything in.
Yeah. So speaking of like common themes on the shows, we ask one question to everyone who comes on. How much are you benching? I know you said you were an athlete growing up. How much do you bench? Or in your heyday?
I honestly don't know. And I'm not even like, I'm not a lifter. I run every day. I actually just signed up at Orange Theory Fitness. So I work
Okay.
out there every day, which is awesome. And you do a lot of stuff with like, there is some lifting involved and rowing and running.
So you do CrossFit.
Definitely don't CrossFit. It is, I can assure you, my coworker, Andrew Ivins, who covers Miami in the Southeast, he's a big CrossFit guy. That is not my thing.
Well, yeah, we would have known if you did CrossFit because you would have told us immediately. Like the first question would have been like, "Oh yeah, I do CrossFit, by the way."
I would have probably, yeah, that would have been like my intro. I'd have probably
Yeah.
reached out ahead of time, but no, I mean, I like to run a lot and like I said, do the Orange Theory and stuff like that, but not really a lifter. Beyond
Like even when you were like playing high school sports or anything like that, you guys never got in the weight room or anything?
I played, so I like didn't even play football. I mean, I played basketball, baseball, golf. I'm a really good bowler as well.
Nice.
I'm good at like old man sports too, like ping pong. But no, I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, it's been a long
Okay,
time.
so that's the first NA when
Yeah.
we had a guest
Sorry,
on. So
guys.
no, that's actually record breaking.
That is record breaking. You're the first, and
Yeah,
probably maybe the only.
might be the last. Yeah,
Might be the last. So
so like next year with the award show, non-applicable bench of the year award.
I'm
Tom
gonna add
Boy,
that in my Twitter bio, so we're good.
do it. Yeah,
We'd love that.
yeah. So Tom, we appreciate you.
Whoa!
We're not done yet.
No, I still
Oh,
have questions. What
okay.
are you doing? God.
I thought we were done.
No. What's a good clickbait title for you? So like when we put the episode out, we need like a good like attention grabbing title. Do you just want to go with Notre Dame Insider, like Recruiter Insider, or what do you want?
That's fine. I mean, if you want to mix in something about my elite benching skills, but
Yeah,
We could add that.
record breaking bench.
right.
At Blake Fisher. Get him going.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, that's probably Blake Fisher, man. I could go on for days about stories about that kid, but we won't. So
Ooh.
If you got
yeah,
time.
if you have a couple more, yeah. Next time, okay, perfect.
All right,
You'll come back on.
lock it in. Yeah.
All right. Well, that actually was the last question I had, Matt. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No
but yeah.
worries. That's my fault. So we appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your schedule. We look forward to seeing what you have to say on the board and more Twitter trolls back and forth between you and Reed, which,
Yeah.
by the way, our Twitter is like 99.9% run by Reed.
Yeah, so if you get trolled, it's me. I'm sorry.
That's right. I'm here for it.
So, yeah, again, we appreciate it. We look forward to having you back on and hopefully in studio sometime.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, fellas. Keep it.
Have a good one.
For sure.
Thanks.
Tom.
Appreciate it.